Good afternoon and welcome to this webinar, Cybersecurity Uncovered, Arm Your Business Against Modern Threats. This event, brought to you by Security Magazine, is sponsored by Gcore. I'm your moderator, Jordan Elger, Managing Editor of Security Magazine. Thanks for joining us. Today's presenter is Andrey Slastenov, Head of Security at Gcore. Don't forget to submit your questions, and later in the program, our presenter will address as many as possible. Today's event is being recorded and archived on www.securitymagazine.com. And now I'm excited to turn it over to today's presenter, Andrey.
Thank you, Jordan, and for that wonderful introduction. And thank you to everyone for joining our webinar today. Today we will start by discussing which services are most vulnerable to internet threats. Next, we will discuss the most common services used to provide comprehensive protection and how a multi-layered approach can enhance the security of their services. And finally, we will review the approach our company takes to deliver combined and bulletproof protection for our clients. So, how cyber threats looks like in the modern world? Currently, the range of threats we might encounter is expanding, and the complexity of their attacks is increasing. Modern cyber criminals often use combined tactics such as social engineering attacks, along with the phishing and ransomware. To keep up with modern challenges, security solutions are also becoming more complex and require more complicated development and testing. Recent incident with CrowdStrike underscored the fragility of our connected world and security solutions. So today we will not talk about the detailed review of all methods for counteracting. There is a long list of the threats because it will take a significant amount of time. But today I would like to focus on the specific class of the cyber threats that's quite widespread on the internet. Therefore, we will discuss DDoS attacks targeting the infrastructure, web applications, and API. What makes this class of threats special and what unifies them? First of all, when we talk about the full spectrum of existing threats, we can always mitigate some of the risks by implementing certain restrictions. For example, if we are discussing social engineering attacks, we can reduce risk by conducting employee trainings. If we are talking about the brute force and account takeovers, we can implement restrictions such as IP-based limits or even completely cut off the vulnerable system from the internet. However, there is a specific class of resources that we cannot hide within our infrastructure or restrict external access to, because there is resources by their very nature need to be accessible to everyone. I'm referring primarily to public services such as websites, VPN gateways, DNS servers, commercial and gaming services, public infrastructure of the large enterprise, some data centers, and service providers. Today we will touch on these topics, discussing both financial and reputational risks, the attacks to which their resources are exposed, and the tools that help us counter their threats. When discussing the current situation with the cyber threats, their quantity and the potential risk to the business, we cannot overlook that number of security incidents and the overall financial impact of the cyber crimes have been increasing year by year. We particularly observed sharp rise in attacks from 2019 to 2022, primarily related to the global COVID-19 pandemic. So during this period, many businesses moved online, and a large number of the people began work remotely from home. This led to surge in online services, with many companies needing to shift their services to internet and provide employees with access to the local resources and data. Consequently, there was increase, of course, in cybercrimes, using the internet to target their online resources. Particularly, the DDoS attack on infrastructure and web applications starts to rise from this point, and as we can see, this growth trend are not stopped by the by now and continue to rise, forcing businesses to invest more in security and personal data protection. So, for modern companies, the risks associated with the attacks on public infrastructure are quite broad. First and foremost, financial losses arise from the service unavailability. For instance, if a company sells products online, downtime of the e-commerce site leads to direct financial losses. Reputational risks are also significant, as clients may lose trust in the business itself, especially if a cybersecurity incident involves the breach of the personal data. Moreover, such incidents can lead to legal consequences, including the fines and lawsuits from clients and government structures. And in addition to direct financial losses, there is also indirect cost associated with incident remediation. Furthermore, the leakage of personal data on the internet poses another potential risk for your clients, as their data may be misused by malicious actors and can be the open doors for their other attack to the different resources. All of the above constitutes to a substantial impact to the company and worsen its competitive positions on the market. Let's discuss what DDoS is and how DDoS protection works. DDoS attack involves a series of actions by attacker designed to fully or partially disable a resource, usually by overloading the server's capacity to process the traffic with large number of requests or packets. As a result, users may be unable to access their system resources provided, or the access can be hindered by that actions. The goal of DDoS protection solution is to filter out all non-legitimate traffic while allowing legitimate requests to pass freely through the protection mechanisms. DDoS protection typically operates on different levels of OCI model, such as layer 3, layer 4, and layer 7. Just to give a couple of examples of different type of attack, one of the interesting one occurs in January of 2023 when Gcore successfully mitigated a large-scale attack. This attack primarily used UDP flute technique, which are common at layer 3, layer 4 layer. The attack reached a peak of 500 million packets per second, with a total capacity exceeding 800 gigabit per second. Another good example is well-known HTTP2 rapid reset attack in Q3 2023. So it's a typical layer 7 DDoS attack. This attack exploited a vulnerability in HTTP2 protocol, where attackers rapidly open it and close the streams, HTTP2 streams, leading to resource exhaustion and on the targeted servers. It is important to recognize that no resources accessible to the internet is immune to DDoS attacks. Any resources with an IP address routable over the internet can be targeted by such attack. Commonly targeted resources are website and web applications. So they're commonly targeted because they are front end of the business, accessible to the millions of users daily. The network infrastructure, this includes servers, routers, and other critical components that keep our online services running smoothly, like, for example, DNS servers, VPN servers, other online services like gaming servers, for example. Attacking resources can cause widespread of disruption, affecting multiple services at once or fully outage of one particular service. And the last one is API and online services. So more and more businesses move towards the microservices and cloud-based architecture. So API are becoming an important part of the operations. Attacks on the API can cripple the essential functions, from processing the payments to accessing the critical data. So now let's look on the typical components of DDoS protection system. So the DDoS protection system usually includes several mechanisms, like access control mechanism, which consists of various tools for restricting access to the resources, such as allow deny lists, IP reputational lists, access control list, and authentication methods like a TCP cookie challenge. Another essential component is a rate limiter, which helps reduce the impact of DDoS attacks on the resources. This mechanism usually operates in conjunction with other components like signature analysis and machine learning. So we can precisely rate limit or block only malicious kind of requests. The next component in signature analysis involves identifying specific data patterns within the traffic, which is usable for blocking well-known attacks and vulnerabilities or malicious patterns of the traffic, especially when blocking based on the IP address alone is not possible. And finally, the machine learning is the particularly efficient against various types of the automated activities, where the traffic itself may appear to protection system as legitimate, but it can be used to overload the resources or collect some sensitive data. It allows for blocking such traffic based not only on the signature or IP addresses. It's use behavioral analysis by comparing the traffic profile with normal users' behavior and normal user behavior in applications or a website. So if we're talking about the attack itself, attacks usually fall into a few main categories. Volumetric attacks. So there is attacks flood the target bandwidth, which can affect anything from individual servers to even the entire data centers. Attackers usually use methods like UDP flood, TCP flood, CMP flood, and amplification techniques to block legitimate access to the server's application or the whole infrastructure. The another type is the amplification reflection attacks. It's kind of volumetric attacks, but often discussed separately because of their specific nature. Attackers usually exploit the weakness in open internet protocols to send harmful data packets, making legitimate services and apps on the network unavailable. An example of this is a DNS reflection attack, when attacker just sent the malicious requests to DNS server and forge the source IP address of that request, pointing out as the source the targeted application, the application which the attacker wants to attack. The another type is the protocol attacks. So there is attacks trying to overwhelm network devices or systems that manage outgoing connections by sending too many connection requests, preventing new users from connecting to their services. The one of good example of such kind of attack is TCP flood attack. And the last one is application layer attacks. There is attacks involve sending malicious requests from compromised resources to target a specific service. I will comment it until it stops responding. The good example for that type of attacks is HTTP flood attack. And if we're talking about compromised resources, usually attacker used botnet for that purpose. So usually attacks on servers and infrastructure involves volumetric amplification and protocol attacks. On the other hand, attacks on the web application and API mostly use application layer attacks, but of course, combination of those methods are also common. So if we look at the layer 7 attacks and at web application firewall and API protection, which use the abbreviation WAAP for short, we see that in addition to DDoS protection, this solution defends against many type of other threats specific to various web applications. Typically, web protection solutions include several key components like web application firewall, which protect from web resources from different kind of the vulnerabilities. Bot protection, which guards against automated activities like scrapping and brute force attacks. And layer 3 DDoS mitigation, which protects against various types of HTTP flood attacks. And last one, the API protection, usually safeguards API interfaces from any kind of malicious activities trying to exploit the vulnerabilities or trying to DDoS that API interfaces. A comprehensive web protection solution typically integrates all of their components. So if you're looking for the good web application and API protection solution, usually it should include all of that components and protect on the different levels. So as we saw from the previous slide, one component of web protection is layer 7 DDoS protection. This can sometimes cause confusion between the solutions. So it's important to understand the difference between DDoS protection for infrastructure and DDoS protection for websites and web applications. Both solutions address DDoS attacks, but have different focuses. DDoS protection for infrastructure defends against attacks that aim to exhaust network bandwidth or overwhelm the server resources, affecting the entire network and its ability to handle legitimate traffic. On the other hand, DDoS protection for web application API protects against attack targeting the application layer, so the layer 7 of OCI model, including the HTTP flood attacks or attacks that exploit different application vulnerabilities in the big scale. While DDoS protection for infrastructure can sometimes also protect against layer 7 DDoS attacks, and by the way, many of our clients, like in gaming, in fintech, use layer 7 protection, which usually use DPI functions and signature analysis to counter such attacks. Like, for example, if you use UDP real-time services and someone just targets the port using to deliver that services with UDP attack, it's hard to distinguish the good traffic and bad traffic using just a layer, 3 layer, 4 layers of the protection. So you should look deep inside the packet itself to understand if the packet that you are getting belongs to legitimate one or to the bad one. So the key difference is that infrastructure DDoS protection does not specialize in HTTP attacks. It's more related, as I said, to signature analysis by comparing the traffic patterns inside the packet. In summary, DDoS protection for infrastructure used for safeguarding infrastructure servers and non-HTTP applications like DNS, VPN, and other services. And now we come into much interesting part, understanding how DDoS protection for infrastructure works in conjunction with web service protection. So many users of web protection services often overlook the need to secure their infrastructure. And here's why. Typically, web service protection involves modifying the DNS record of the protected service to the IP address of a protection provider. All connections to the web application are first coming to the filtering center, filtered by the web protection service servers before reaching the final destination over the internet. Many mistakenly assume that this setup offers complete protection for their web resources. However, this alone is insufficient. For web protection to deliver traffic to the web server, the server must have internet access. And as we talked earlier, if a server has an IP address, it can be targeted by the DDoS attack. An attacker can easily discover the real IP address of the web server by conducting a brief investigation, such as checking and using the old DNS records, or targeting the entire network infrastructure using open data from databases like RIPE. Some web protection providers to counter this suggest using ACLs to restrict access to the website only from the protection provider network. However, it's crucial to remember that DDoS attacks using the protocols like TCP and UDP can be executed with forged IP address. So this means an attacker could spoof or just forge the IP address of the web protection provider. So you will get in the attack with the source IP addresses of your protection provider. Therefore, protecting web resources and infrastructure usually require a combined approach that integrates both infrastructure, DDoS protection, and web application protection together. So, our company understands the importance of protecting both infrastructure and web applications, and that's why we are offering a comprehensive solution designed to provide the robust security. Our journey to this solution just mirrors the evolution of cloud technologies. Initially, we built and expanded a CDN infrastructure worldwide. Later, we realized that with such vast infrastructure, we could offer various services with minimal latency see for our clients and use it as a massive distributed cleaning center, which can provide infrastructure and web protection within one node, one CDN node. So using this infrastructure, we ensure complete protection against all types of DDoS attacks and safeguard web applications and APIs from the security threats and personal data vulnerabilities. The main advantages of our solution lies in the that it's seamless, integrated, and in unification. By combining CDN services, web protection, and infrastructure protection, we ensure the minimal latency and significantly enhance traffic performance, resulting in more secure and efficient network experience. As both a CDN and hosting provider, our companies function as the vast data repository. So our traffic profile usually mostly outbound, making up approximately from 70 to 80%, while inbound traffic accounts something to about 20%. So given that DDoS attacks typically involves a large volume of incoming traffic, we leverage our substantial available capacity to effectively mitigate even most severe DDoS attacks, offering virtually unlimited defense capacity. So our distributed infrastructure also enable us to balance the traffic efficiently, ensuring there will be no any single point of failure. So, moreover, our global presence allows us to neutralize threats as close to the source as possible. So, by using our distributed infrastructure, we preventing DDoS attacks from propagating through the infrastructure and enhanced overall network resilience. Just to fully appreciate the scale and capabilities of our infrastructure, let me consider the following impressive numbers. So our total potential filtering capacity reaches approximately 200 terabit per second. So we can be sure that we can handle even the most intensive traffic and intensive DDoS attacks. We operate around 180 points of presence globally and supported by about 14,000 peering partners, which guarantees optimal network performance and low latency connectivity across regions. And currently, our DDoS protection infrastructure is managed about 10 terabits of clean protected traffic. So I'm talking about the clean protected traffic, not about DDoS attack itself. Notably, we have successfully mitigated the DDoS attacks that peaked at 1.7 terabit per second, demonstrating our ability to handle huge scale threats. Usually, we are mitigating about 500 attacks daily, ensuring the integrity and availability of the services of our clients. Additionally, all our hosting and cloud data centers benefits from our DDoS protection solutions. So we are safeguarding our clients and critical resources and data. So our diverse client base includes leading companies from fintech, the gaming industry, hosting providers, and large enterprises like Orange, LeaseWeb, Wargaming. These organizations trust us to protect their critical operations. Every day we face a wide array of threats, ranging from sophisticated cyber attacks to large-scale DDoS attacks, and we prove an ability to effectively mitigate those risks. So through our consistent performance and reliable protection, we continue to earn and maintain the confidence of our customers. So let's summarize what we have learned today. The first, effective cybersecurity requires both DDoS protection and web application security to ensure robust defense against various threats. The second, integrated approach is essential. Combining multiple security solutions within unified network, we can enhance our reliability and minimize protection gaps. And the third one, Gcore offers a powerful integrated security solution that combines DDoS protection, web application security, and CDN infrastructure, delivering unmatched protection and performance. So now I want to ask you a couple of questions. We coming to the polling sessions, so you can just vote and answer the best option that you think is most applicable for you. And let me start the session. So the first question, are you currently using DDoS protection or web protection? So we can start. Okay, let's look at let's wait 10 seconds maybe, so everyone can finish the voting process. Okay, and let's look at the results that we have. So it looks like it's just half and half. Some of the users, some of the participants using, someone not. So I hope that after this presentation, you will understand the importance of DDoS and web protection and combination of that services, and at least start to using to protect your critical services and infrastructure. And we are going to the next question. If you use protection services, which providers do you choose? Okay, let's wait 10 more seconds. Okay, here is the results. Very interesting. The Cloudflare, Imperva, and others. So I think the Cloudflare mostly used to protect web applications and websites, and F5 I know that provide more or less both services. So yeah, the results is pretty much interesting. I expect that at least someone used Akamai or Imperva, but results is results. It's fine. And the last one, what the main problem you have encountered with your provider? So the false positive, unpredictable charges, missed attacks, poor customer service. Okay, 10 more seconds. Okay, good. So the false positive, I agree that it's the biggest problem of DDoS protection providers, and everyone just trying to make this happen lesser and lesser, but usually it may happens. But I see that most of the people vote for unpredictable charges. And I just want to mention that in Gcore, for DDoS protection, our charges is pretty straightforward. We never ever charge for DDoS attack itself. We charge only for the clean traffic which we protect. So, for example, if your application during the normal hours, not the peak hours, you use something like 100 megabit per second, you will charge only for that volume. And the DOS attack, that big amount of the data is never considering in our charges. Moreover, we are using 95 percentile approach. So during the months, you can have up to something 36 hours where your traffic can exhaust their committed rate. So be more than 100 megabit per second. So, and now we are going to Q&A session. So I give the stage back to the Jordan. Thank you, Jordan.
Thanks, Andrey, for a great presentation. And before we have our presenter address some questions that have been submitted throughout the program, I wanted to remind you that we'd love your feedback in our webinar survey to help improve our programs. So the first question that we have today is, I am a system consultant designer with some very large systems that touch the client's corporate network. What provisions should I make in my specifications/drawings that would be a standard business practice for an integrator to follow? Remember, I designed these systems and bid them to an integrator.
If we're talking about the security and especially DDoS attack itself, one of their, let's say, the biggest mistakes that most of the customers do is that they're trying to invest in very expensive on-premise DDoS protection solutions. So these solutions, and they think that these solutions will adequately safeguard against DDoS attacks. In reality, effectively countering attacks that scales in terabits or millions of requests per second requires significant resource capacity and bandwidth. And usually within one company, you will never ever reach that capabilities to manage all of amount of traffic or amount of requests that come into you. So as the consultant, you can just recommend, if we're just talking about DDoS protection, I can just recommend you to consider using the cloud DDoS protection services for comprehensive protection of your client. So that's this, let's say, the standard business practice for now, which you can use. I hope that I answered this question.
Great, thank you. And next question. What role does machine learning or artificial intelligence play in modern DDoS attack mitigation strategies?
Well, I think that DDoS protection and web security was start to use machine learning in artificial intelligence even very long time ago, even before we got this hype with ChatGPT and with boom of AI and machine learning worldwide. So the machine learning and artificial intelligence play a crucial role in modern DDoS attack mitigation strategy. So it helps to enable the sophisticated, adaptive, and proactive defense mechanisms. What usually machine learning do, it analyze the vast amount of network traffic data in real time, identify the patterns that may indicate DDoS attacks, and this allow for early detection of anomalies, and even when the attack is not yet fully manifested, we can start to build the specific rules to protect the system. And moreover, as soon as we detect the new potential threat pattern, we immediately include in this pattern into their database. So first time we see the threat, and after that, after we include in that pattern into database, all our customers getting this new signature by default. The another use of machine learning, we call this new feature kind of the lockdown mechanism. So what we are doing, it's mostly works for DDoS protection of the infrastructure. When DDoS attacks happen, because we need some time budget to analyze what is going on and to use our machine learning model, we use the lockdown mechanism when for a couple of seconds we allow only existing connections to pass through the DDoS protection. And within these couple of seconds, we analyze the attack pattern and dynamically build their mitigation rules around it. So the AI help us to achieve that results. And moreover, maybe I'm not sure if you heard about this, so we are now using the AI on the edge. It means that we put our AI models as close to their customer as possible, using again our CDN and cloud infrastructure, which is widespread around the world. So the time which we spend for analysis and processing the data, even the less right now, and we can show the very, very good performance, not only for the security, but for other functions that use artificial intelligence. I hope I answered this question.
Great, thank you. What are some common misconceptions about DDoS attacks and their mitigation, and how can organizations better prepare themselves?
Well, I mostly answered this question. It was a part of my answer for the first question, but what I can say that the common misconception is that investing in very expensive on-premise DDoS protection solution will adequately safeguard against DDoS attacks. In reality, it's not true. As I said, if you want to counter attacks that scales in terabit or millions of requests per second, it's required a significant resource capacity and bandwidth. For example, if you faced attack something like we faced 1.7 terabit per second, you should usually invest into your interconnection with internet to process that amount of traffic. So what does that mean? It means that before you analyze the traffic and understand what the traffic is good and what is bad, you at least need to get all of this traffic to your cleaning center. And if this cleaning center resides in your infrastructure, it means that you first should get all of this 1.7 terabit per second attack, put it into your cleaning center, process it, and only after that you will block the legitimate, you will block the malicious traffic and allow the legitimate to pass. Of course, there is different techniques which can improve that approach a bit. So you can use flow analyzer, you can use some other analyzing tools, and you can use flow spec if your service provider allow you to do this, or you can use RTBH. So what is the RTBH? When you ask your service provider to block the certain traffic to the certain IP address, usually to certain destination IP address. But it's not works well. If we're talking about the flow spec, well, usually if you try to block by the source IP address of attackers, in most of the cases during the DOS attack, source IP addresses are forged by the attacker. If we're talking about the RTBH mechanism, when you block the destination IP address by trying to protect your infrastructure, for example, you get in 1.7 terabit of attack to your web server, and if you allow this attack to pass, it means that your uplinks will be overloaded and the whole infrastructure, including the web servers, VPN servers, and the rest of the things will just fall down. So what are you doing? You just ask your service provider using the RTBH mechanism and BGP community to block all the traffic to attack the IP address. But it's not a DDoS protection. You just sacrifice your web server just trying to save your infrastructure. And if the attacker is smart enough, it will not work well, because he will spread the attack among the whole network block. So yeah, that's why I really suggest to use the cloud infrastructure and security providers, cloud security providers like Gcore, to protect your infrastructure and servers from DDoS attacks. As I said, we have 1,000 of servers spread around the world. We have a lot of capacity. I think now we reach 200 terabit per second of overall capacity, and we can easily counter any size of DDoS attack or even HTTP flood attack. So I hope I answered this question.
Great, thank you. Next question, can you explain a real-world scenario where both infrastructure protection and web application/API protection were needed to defend against an attack successfully?
Yes, we have a good example of one of the retail platform experiencing multi-layered attack. So the attack began with layer 7 attack targeting the platform web applications with HTTP flood. The attacker aimed to disrupt the website functionality. But because the customer has our web application in API protection solution, we successfully define block their malicious request. request. So after that, the attacker shift their strategy. So it tried to target the web server infrastructure, but they identify the networks which belong to the customer. And attackers launched a volumetric DDoS attack at layer 3, layer 4, layer directly to the customer infrastructure. I will harm the network with massive amount of the traffic to exhaust bandwidth and take down the entire service. So at that moment, that customer doesn't use our DDoS infrastructure protection, but we quickly help the customer to activate the infrastructure protection, and this approach solved the problem completely. So that's a good example which shows how infrastructure and web application protection works together. Okay, that's it.
Great, thank you. And that's all the time we have for today. Please join me in thanking Andrey for his presentation, as well as our sponsor, Gcore. If you have any additional questions or comments, please don't hesitate to click the Email Us button on the console. Please visit www.securitymagazine.com for the archive of this presentation, as well as information about our upcoming events. We appreciate your time and hope you have found this webinar to be a valuable experience.